Good day and welcome back. Let's make some stuffed pork chops. I'm using some chorizo sausage that I had left from the turducken that I did for Thanksgiving. Hopefully you saw that video. I've never done the stuffed pork chops myself. I always bought them. I have a great local butcher and I always bought them. Froze my chorizo on Thanksgiving for the sole purpose of trying this. So here we go.
Okay, welcome back to Ginger's Kitchen. Today I'm making stuffed pork chops. In this pan I sauteed some chorizo sausage, and not much, maybe that much, just to give it some flavor, not to make it too spicy. And to that I added some chicken stock and cubed stuffing. And this is Bell's cube stuffing. I haven't used that in years, and I just happened to see it at my local market and I decided to grab it. Usually I use bread cubes and make my own stuffing, but it was a spur of the moment and that's what I decided to do. So the chorizo was fully cooked, then I added the chicken stock, then I added the bread cubes, the stuffing bread cubes.
Now to stuff the pork chops. Well, I had the butcher cut these special and I told him that I was going to be stuffing them so they're the right thickness. They're the thickness that I wanted.
And I've sliced pockets. Now, I'm not a professional chef and I'm not going to show you how to do that because you don't want to do it the way I do it. One thing I learned, I need a sharper knife because it wasn't easy for me to get the pockets, but it was because my knife wasn't sharp. So anyway, I cut pockets and now I'm going to stuff them, and I'll show you that. So I put this baking dish here because the burner was hot from the stuffing. And I want to put the glass plate on the warm burner. So here you can see, it's easy to see, there is a pocket. This one, I kind of got a little hole, I'll confess. So I'm hoping I can pull that meat and cover that hole so that this stuffs properly. And then I'm going to, there's really no other way to do this, is to stuff.
I had to get my hands in there, the only way to do it. And I'm going to use all this stuffing so I'm able to put my hand in the pan of stuffing because I'll be using it all and I don't have to worry about cross-contamination.
So I'm stuffing the pork chop.
Now, I should have tasted the stuffing before I started stuffing the pork chops to make sure it wasn't too spicy. And I'm overstuffing these pork chops because my family loves stuffing. Always make sure you wash your hands when you're working with raw meat. You don't want any cross-contamination. And like I said, I'm not a professional chef. I'm a home cook. Hopefully this stuffing isn't going to be too spicy because I forgot to check. There, maybe that's a better angle for the camera so you can see better.
Yeah, get them all stuffed. There we go. These are good sized pork chops. I'm gonna stop the video because I'm gonna wash my hands because I need to roll my sleeves. There we go. So I'm back to stuffing the pork chops. A pretty good amount of stuffing can go into these guys. And then I'm going to saute them on top of the stove in a stainless steel skillet, and then I'm going to finish them, I think, in the oven. And then I'm going to temp them, but you got to make sure when you temp them that you're temping meat and not the stuffing.
Or the bone. You got to make sure you're temping the meat.
I can get a little more in there. And then all this stuffing is going to be used, which will be good. And I don't know, I might think about putting a skewer in the pork chop so the stuffing can't fall out, because I've been putting a lot of stuffing in here. So, but I love stuffing. So to me, a tablespoon of stuffing isn't going to do it. I want stuffing. If I stuff something, I want to be able to taste and see the stuffing. Look at that. I used all the stuffing that was in that pan. This one's a little bit full.
The last one I did kind of overstuff, so I'm going to put a skewer in that one. You just got to make sure you take it out when they're done.
All right, so there they are, all stuffed. Now, I've sprayed the skillet with non-stick spray because it is a stainless steel. It's not a non-stick skillet because I'm going to finish these in the oven. And to that, I've also added some olive oil. And I'm going to start them off in the stainless steel skillet, and then I'm going to switch them to an enamel coated cast iron pan to finish in the oven. And I'm going to do them 2 at a time because that's all that fits. And the one that I kind of overstuffed,
I did skewer it to make sure that the stuffing stayed in.
and now I'm just going to put a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Okay, so those are getting brown on one side. When they get brown on the other side, I'm going to transfer them to the pan and do the other 2 pork chops. And then I'm going to put them in the oven and we'll see how they come out. But they look good. Listen to that sizzle.
Okay, well, these pork chops were so big, I can't fit all 4 of them in that cast iron baking dish that I have. So I'm going to put 2 in the cast iron baking dish, and I'm going to leave 2 in the stainless steel skillet because that can go in the oven, and then we'll see how they both come out. But at the end, I'm going to temp them, so you just make sure you temp the meat.
Well, I think I need a little bit of practice in slicing the pork chop because I do have the one with the hole here. But hopefully I'll leave that side up in the pan here when I put it in, and hopefully the stuffing will stay put.
Now I'm only browning these. Most of the cooking is going to happen in the oven. I have my oven at 375, but all ovens are different. And like I said, I use a meat thermometer to be safe. Well, mine were in the oven for about 35 minutes after I browned them on both sides. But ovens vary, so make sure you do it safely and temp your meat.
So these are going in the oven, and then we'll see how they come out. There's the oven. It is up to temperature. So there's the one in the cast iron skillet, and they temped. Actually, they temped higher, way higher than they needed to, but I always like to err on the side of caution. I'm not a professional chef, so I like to make sure everything's thoroughly done. And there you can see the stuffing popping out of that one, and don't they look delicious?
Please like and subscribe. Until next time, and thank you for watching.